One of my absolute favorite market segments in the watch world is the field watch, and two of the coolest ones are here from IWC coming up. Before the 1950s, when we came out with all of these land speed chronographs and dive watches and navigational, computational watches and all that sort of thing, if you just thought to yourself the image in your mind of a watch, it would be a field watch, because this is what really was popularized in the trenches of World War I, became very popular for men all through the period between the wars, and then World War II really solidified what happened with the field watch. And to me, this is just one of the best choices you can make for an everyday watch. Some people would call that a beater. I don't think of an IWC as something that you would call a beater, but these are really good picks for the idea of a field watch. And so it has a military look to it, but mostly they're very simple, they're very legible, and very functional with just the time and the date. So we have two choices here at SwissWatchExpo that are very similar, and Penny asked me what the difference between them was, and so we decided to do a video about it to let everybody know. We have the Mark XVIII Heritage in titanium IWC Pilot's watch, and then we have the IWC Pilot Spitfire in steel. So she asked me what's the difference between the Spitfire and the Mark XVIII Heritage, and so here we are to tell you. Looking at them visually, a lot of your choice between these two watches will just have to do with which one you like the look of better. The Mark XVIII is a 40 millimeter case in titanium, and the Spitfire is a 39 millimeter case in stainless steel. They're about the same size, honestly, give or take. The titanium one feels lighter, wears lighter on the wrist, but the cases are almost exactly the same shape. On the Spitfire, the lugs are a little thinner, maybe a little bit more towards the elegant side, where on the Mark XVIII, they're a little bit thicker and not quite as tapered, maybe a little bit more on the heavy duty side. But when you look at the dial, you can see that there's a difference in the way the Arabic numbers are placed compared to the minute track. The minute track's just a lot more prominent on the Spitfire than it is on the Mark XVIII. And then when you look at the colors they used on the dials, on the Mark XVIII Heritage, the date window, the background of the date is the same color essentially as the rest of the dial. And on the Spitfire, there's a white background, so it really sets it off with more of a contrast. There's also a little bit more color on the Spitfire because it has that word Spitfire in red right there above 6 o'clock. And they both have similar capabilities. They both have a screw-in crown. They're both water resistant to 60 meters. So certainly, they could be completely submerged, even though you probably wouldn't want to do that with the straps that are not metal. They both have the soft iron core to protect against magnetism. They both have sapphire crystals that are AR coated front and back. And they've got some kind of an interesting system where they're engineered to not come off when there's a drop in pressure, which I thought was an interesting point from IWC without there being any kind of a helium escape valve or anything. I don't think I've ever seen any other watch tout that as one of the features of their watches. They both have the screw-in crown. They both have a pin-type buckle. One of the biggest differences between them is in the movement, though. And so where you come down on this, there's, I guess, sort of arguments to be made for both. On the Mark XVIII, the movement is a 35-111, which is based on a Solita movement. And any watchmaker in the world would have no trouble servicing the Solita-based movement. It has a 42-hour power reserve, beats at 28.8, very reliable, almost, you could call it a bulletproof kind of movement. And on the wrist, it's going to be extremely functional and give you no trouble whatsoever. It's a great pick. There's nothing wrong with that movement at all. On the Spitfire, one of the differences is that it is an in-house IWC movement. It has a much longer power reserve at 72 hours. I buy my watches to wear them. The power reserve length doesn't really affect me one way or the other on the wrist. The only time I could see it maybe factoring in is if you take the watch off on a Friday and you want to leave it and wear something else for the weekend and pick it back up Monday, and whether it's still running or not. But I like winding my watches. To me, it's part of the fun. 30 seconds of tactile interaction with my nice watch collection. So the power reserve really doesn't bother me at all. A lot of people would probably argue that the IWC in-house movement is a more prestigious make. It's more of a higher end movement, but at the same time, it might be a little bit harder to get it serviced in the future. There's a lot of pressure on watch companies now to make all of their movements in-house. So a lot of people would really value the in-house movement more on the Spitfire versus the Mark 18. But that's really something that would be for you to decide. In the, I guess I didn't mention it, the Spitfire, it's a 32110 is the movement number. One of the things that I really like about the Spitfire, not only does it say Spitfire in red on the dial, but it also has the logo on the back includes the picture of the Spitfire airplane. Now, I don't know if you know about the Spitfire, but it came out in 1938. It is really a symbol of victory. And it was the most famous plane used in World War II. It was the plane that made the difference in the Battle of Britain, where the Luftwaffe was attacking the UK, and they held them off really because of this plane. It was a very innovative plane that had a lot of capabilities that even rivaled the P-51 Mustang. So it's a cool watch with a cool history behind it. Really, the choice is yours. On the wrist, they look very, very similar, but there are enough slight changes that Penny said, what's the difference between these two watches? And we wanted to answer it. Give us a call if you have any other questions. We'd love to set up a FaceTime or Zoom call and show you our store and our service center and individual watches. We can show them to you on the wrist, and we can answer any other questions you might have about them.